Is Braedyn Locke the bridge to Mabrey Mettauer?
You are Locked On Badgers, your daily podcast on the Wisconsin Badgers. Part of the Locked On Podcast Network, your team every day.
What is good, Badger fans? Welcome to Locked On Badgers, your team every single day. I'm your host, Ryan HOF, part of the Locked On Podcast Network, and I am deeply humbled that you are here with us today. I know there's plenty you can be doing with your time, so thank you for spending it a little bit of it here, whether it's watching on YouTube, checking it out on the car, in the car, listening to it at work, whatever it is. Humbly and sincerely, thank you. Today's episode is brought to you by Game Time. Download the Game Time app, create an account, use code LOCKDOWNCollege for $20 off your first purchase. This is a community show. We do this every week after every game. We get your comments and your thoughts off Twitter, off our Discord, which y'all should join the Discord. We talk Badgers. We talk all sorts of things. No politics, no Gophers. Anything else goes. If we get comments off the YouTube show, so whatever it is, we take your comments. I can never get to all of them, but I always want to bring the community back into this. So that's what this show is. And let's just start here. I thought this first one was kind of funny. This is from an Oklahoma fan, actually a guy who covers Oklahoma, John Williams. He covers Oklahoma for the Locked On Podcast Network. He said Dillon Gabriel and Tawee Walker having big days in Big Ten wins while the OU offense flounders is not a good time. Yeah, this is the other side of the portal, right? It's seeing your players leave and find success elsewhere while you struggle. This is no different than Badgers basketball fans this year. If we're having a tough day at the point guard spot and if we're seeing Chucky Hepburn light it up for Louisville, we're going to be like, oh, that really stinks. So you're seeing these Oklahoma fans seeing Tawee Walker run for a $198 and 8.3 per carry. And you're like, yeah, why did they let him go? And they're like, why did we let him go? And I couldn't tell you, quite frankly. They should have kept that dude. This next one is from Tom Oates. He says, Rutgers isn't very good, but is known as a physical team. Still, Wisconsin dominated both lines of scrimmage, 42-7 win. Last two games, the Badgers have shown they are rediscovering the physical identity that made them famous. And they're also throwing the ball. Like, I get where Tom Oates is coming from. Like, the Badgers have to be physical to win. But that was never something Luke Fickell and Phil Longo didn't want to do. They've always wanted to do it. But it's not just rediscovering the Badgers' old physical identity. They've thrown for 500-something yards the last two games. Last game, Braden Lock averaged 8.3 yards per attempt. I wouldn't say they're rediscovering their old identity, and that's a path to success. I think they're discovering the identity that Luke Fickell brought Phil Longo in to do, right? They're discovering what they had hoped this would be over the last two games. A lot of way to go. Long way to go. But I think there's a twinge here of, well, if the Badgers play like they used to, everything will be better. And I don't think that's what's happened the last couple games. Certainly physicality matters. Tom is completely correct on that, but they're also throwing the ball down the field. They're playing more of that balanced offense that I think Wisconsin needed to move a little bit towards to compete in this era of college football. Next one here from Jarrett Guerrero. Jarrett's been on the show. Great dude. Jarrett said Tawee Walker was truly special for the Badgers this time out, and his performance shows signs of what's to come for the running back. It feels kind of like he's just starting, right? He's starting to get going. Now, the last 2 weeks, rush defense is not great. Northwestern's better. Northwestern, a couple yards per carry better defensively than Rutgers was. So the challenge is going to start to increase. And then you got Penn State, and then you're going to have to go to the road to Iowa. Nebraska has a pretty good defensive line, at least at the tackle spot. So it's getting tougher. But Jarrett's right. Like, Tawee was special this last week, and it feels like he's starting to build up some momentum, right? And with that bell cow role that he now has, could be some special stuff in store. This one's from Scary Alvarez. Wisconsin has outscored the last two opponents 94-13. And listen, we all get it because it's been hammered into our heads by national media and pundits. Purdue and Rutgers aren't great. Rutgers was favored. Rutgers was 4-1 at home. Rutgers lost to Nebraska 14-7, and Nebraska's a bit of a media darling, and Wisconsin mopped the floor with them. Credit where credit is due. They played two teams, and they took two teams apart, two Big Ten teams. Yeah, I don't try to minimize that. Like, it doesn't mean that everything is solved, and I've talked about this before. I think we got a little too low maybe after USC Bama, and there's a danger you get a little too high after Purdue and Rutgers, but that doesn't mean that those weren't incredibly impressive wins. You beat anybody. You beat anybody's by combined score 94-13. Two Big Ten opponents, one of those on the road. Nah, that's two back-to-back dominant performances. This one is from the Juice Man. He said, I'd be lying to Juicer Nation. I guess the Juice Man's got a Juicer Nation behind him. I love it. If I didn't admit I was shopping around the internet for a Braden Lock Heisman future for next year, got to get in on the ground floor. I love a Juice Man. I don't even know who you are. But yeah, let's go see if we can get some Braden Lock Heisman futures. I'm curious if you find any. Hit me up if you do. Ryan Wing says, Braden Lock looks so much different than he did against Bama. And he should. Even those who are, I think, a little frustrated with Braden Locke, you talk about that Bama game, and there's nothing you can take from that too critically. If you get thrown in halfway, or not halfway, if you get thrown in at the beginning against an Alabama team because their starter got hurt, you don't take much from that. So yeah, he's looked better because he's continued growing, and I think there's more in the tank for Braden Locke. Like, he still hasn't started a full game's worth of seasons. There's more in the tank here. And I'm excited to see where he grows as he faces better defenses, because that's really the next challenge, right? He's done it against Purdue and Rutgers. Rutgers had statistically a pretty good passing defense, but now he's going to have to do it eventually against Penn State, Oregon, Nebraska, Iowa. The challenge ramps up. Let's see it. Let's see what else is in the tank. I'm confident. I'm confident that he can at least be capable against those teams. This one, as it's struggling to pop up here, let's see if it'll come up. And again, I appreciate everybody for tuning into this show, for throwing these comments up. We'll take a couple from over here. Oh, there it is. Kirk Herbstreit. He was responding to JJ Watt, a tweet, but he said, your ball club came to play. Big win for your Badgers. I wanted to throw this one up there because it shows you on a national perspective, if you beat, even if it's not considered a great opponent, if you go on the road and beat a Big Ten opponent like you just beat Rutgers, it's opening eyes. Like, it's opening eyes, not just nationally, but within the conference. And if you start doing those things, everything has trickle effects, right? You throw the stone, the pebble into the pond, and those waves go outwards, and they hit a lot of things. And you may not see the impacts of that right away, but it's building momentum, right? Those waves are building momentum. They're catching a lot of things. And my point is recruits, NIL, donor, excitement, alumni. Like, when you start to create excitement, those waves build, that momentum builds. It makes donors more excited. It makes it easier to sell NIL. It makes recruits more excited. When they start seeing Braedyn Locke have success and Vinny Anthony have success and Treshka Kahuna have success, those receivers get more interested. Like, everything, winning helps everything. Winning convincingly really helps everything. So yeah, big win for your Badgers, Kirk Herbstreit. Again, national media talking about it. And you still got to keep it going, but these winning really impressively is a big deal. You don't get a lot of games in the season. So yeah, it's nice to see that. Let's keep going here. Let's get the Rutgers fan perspective. This is from PuckHog21. Fire Shiano. #. Things maybe not going so well in Piscataway right now after that one. And it is interesting, right? How Rutgers started the season, a bit of a media darling. And then you lose a game like that, and it's just like, fire the coach. Life sucks. And we've all been there as sports fans. Will Compton, former Nebraska Husker, said, Wisconsin is absolutely feasting on Rutgers after Nebraska broke their will last weekend. Okay. Let's pause a second here. Nebraska broke their will? Bro, that was a 14-7 game, Will. Nebraska didn't break anybody's will. It was a 7-point game. Okay. You didn't stomp them around. You didn't take out half their team. You didn't drag them through the mud. You beat them by 7. Okay. Y'all had nothing to do with what Wisconsin just did to Rutgers. Let's be super clear on this. Wisconsin broke Rutgers' will for next week. Nebraska just barely eked by them. And by the way, I'm starting to get a little sketched out on Nebraska, right? You barely beat Rutgers. We murdered them. You struggled against Purdue. We murdered them. Illinois beat you. Purdue almost beat Illinois. Maybe Nebraska's just not that good, Will. Maybe that's it. Maybe you're not breaking people's will. Maybe you all just kind of sneaky suck. Just saying. I don't know. Sorry. I'm being salty today. I shouldn't be so salty. Not that Will Compton's ever going to see this anyway. But my point is, I don't think Nebraska damaged Rutgers' will. Big Cat says, Badgers so back. Nothing like Purdue Rutgers combo to get the mojo rolling. Yeah, that is a nice back-to-back meal. Nice back-to-back hors d'oeuvre to get the Badgers back in the winner's seat there. No doubt about it. Big Ten Network says it's officially Locktober in Wisconsin. Let's go. And one more tweet here from Casey Robach. Good day's work for Wisconsin football offensive line and RBU. Yeah. Dominated line of scrimmage. I think that Coach Blazek has been a terrific hire. Offense line looks great. All right, we're going to get all your comments coming up next. Locked On Badgers, including is Braedyn Locke the bridge to Mabrey Mettauer. We'll talk about that next. Locked On Badgers, but first a quick break for our friends of the show over at LinkedIn. We talk about LinkedIn all the time. Longtime sponsor of the show, great sponsor of the show, because it's really important to get the right people in the door. Like really important to get the right people in the door. Whatever type of shop you're running a pet store, you got to get the 5-star pet salesman. Like you got to get the 5-star dog groomer through that door, because your business matters, and the people that work for your business are the face of it. They're the talent behind it. They're what drive success forward. Find the right people with LinkedIn. Post your job for free at linkedin.com/lockedoncollege. That's linkedin.com/lockedoncollege. Post your job for free at linkedin.com/lockedoncollege. Terms and conditions do apply. The #1 professional hiring marketplace in the world, as ranked by small businesses. LinkedIn will get you the right talent the first time, faster, and at a better price. LinkedIn.com/lockedoncollege. All right, let's get your comments into this. Coming off 2 dominant games, man. Dominant games. Let's get some of your comments again. That's what this show always is. And Bo Ryan just went in the hall. I just did a quick reaction show. He's officially enshrined. Dice Gaming says Bo Ryan is the best coach I have ever seen. He was incredible. He was absolutely incredible. And you have to wonder what a Bo Ryan could have done at like a Kentucky or a Duke, where he had access to a little more elite talent. I think he could have been a Coach K. I think he could have, like, he's just such a winner. He's so consistent. And there was nothing about him that was phony, really, right? Like, he was unapologetically Bo Ryan. Turnover, go to the bench. In fact, we got a comment down here from Nathan R. He said, my favorite part of Bo Ryan's coaching was that when a Badger turned the ball over, they went to the bench. Our coaching philosophy led to our offense being protective of the ball and being near the top of the country in fewest turnovers year in and year out. I love this point, Nathan, and thank you for the comment, my friend. The thing that a lot of coaches, and listen, I coached, right? I coached some in high school, some AAU, a little bit of college. That's one of the big struggles with coaches, is holding players accountable and being able to do that without losing the culture, the locker room. Bo Ryan did that. Like, Bo Ryan was unapologetically a guy who held to his principles, right? He did not play nice to a star player or a quote unquote 5-star player because they were a high pedigree player. If that guy made a mistake, if that guy turned the ball over, hi Sam Decker, he went to the bench. You're done. No, this team and this culture is above all egos. This team and this culture and what we stand for is above all personalities. And if you don't like it, go hit the door, kick rocks. That was Bo Ryan. He didn't care. And he cared a lot, but he didn't care about trying to play favorites or anything like that. The principles of this team and what it's built on are what matters. And you're going to play that way. You're going to play smart. You're going to play team basketball. And he held players to a standard. And a lot of coaches don't do that. A lot of people don't do that anymore. He held players to a standard, and he did not accept lowering that standard. And it didn't matter what your star ranking was. You played to that standard, period. Yeah, that's a great comment, Nathan. I agree. David B says Dick Bennett and Bo Ryan are Wisconsin Badgers basketball. Congratulations, Hall of Fame Coach Ryan. Yeah, I did a show just a little bit ago talking about Bo Ryan. It's fair to mention Dick Bennett. Dick Bennett kind of laid the foundation of modern Badgers basketball. And then Bo Ryan took that foundation and he built like a mansion on it, right? But yeah, Dick Bennett, certainly give him credit as well. And then Bo Ryan, what he did is just absolutely incredible. All right, let's get some more comments coming off the Badgers football game against Rutgers. This is from Dice. Tretch and Anthony need to start over Green. Yak needs more touches. Have no idea why. He's arguably our best back. Still got to feed Walker, though. He's a stud. Ashcraft and Seagraves, tight end duo. Man, a lot to unpack here. A lot of good stuff. Ashcraft. Let's start with Ashcraft and Seagraves. Starting to show some stuff. I like both these guys. Ashcraft coming off that freshman season last year. JT Seagraves, a Paul Christ guy with some latent athleticism, basketball background coming out of high school. I think it's pretty decent athlete, good hands. You're starting to see a little bit of tight end action in this Longo offense, and it just makes it more dynamic. It makes it more versatile. You have those tight ends out there. It gives you a little more power in the line of scrimmage, but if they can leak out and still attack the flats, attack some seams, yeah, I agree. You're starting to see the tight ends featured more. I don't think Tretch or Anthony need to start over Green. Green's just been hobbled. I thought Green had actually been playing pretty well, if I'm going to be honest. And Tretch is more of an inside guy. I like Green as your big receiver, and I think he's going to handle press a little bit better than Vinny Anthony. You could play Vinny and Green together with Pauling or Tretch in the slot. I like that. I like that a lot. All right. From CM, still scratching my head over the play calling, offensive play calling, where the screenplays, what happened to our vaunted jet sweeps? Why don't they mix more pistol in or allow Locke to run the ball on occasion? Well, I would say, and again, I'll say this as someone who coached a little bit in basketball, you can't fit everything in. You just can't. I mean, we would want to run a point guard isolation play, but also have some motion offense and also have some pick and roll stuff. Then we want to do our out of bounds plays and sidelines out of bounds and 7 seconds or less shot and our 3-point shot. And we wanted to run a little bit of like a Spain pick and roll. And you just can't run everything. So Longo is calling some screenplays. That is here occasionally. We saw jet sweep last week to Tretch, but that's not a big part of his offense. But again, you can't put everything in. In terms of allowing Locke to run the ball, I quite frankly don't want Locke running the ball much at all because your backup is a true freshman and Locke's not a big guy. And he's not a burner. What's the upside with Braedyn Locke running more? Occasionally you're going to catch him off guard, like that quarterback draw and get 7 yards. And then the next 2 times he might get his head taken off because he's not a big guy. He's not overly fast. He's not overly nimble or agile. Like, I just don't think there's a lot of upside in trying to get Braden Lock to run more. Now, 3rd and 4, if he can break the pocket and pick up 5 yards on a scramble, I love it. Those are the type of plays that if you're on defense, you want to rip your hair out because this quarterback, everything was covered up and the quarterback made a first down on his own. I'm all for that. And I think Locke can occasionally do that. Designed runs, I don't want. I don't want with Braden Locke because we'd have no quarterback depth right now. We already lost one guy. You don't want to, and I know people will say, look, it's football. People get hurt. It's also risk mitigation, and you can play with, you put more or less risk on players. My day job, I do IT work, right? Cyber crimes happen all the time. You could easily say it doesn't matter, you're going to get hacked anyway. Sure, or you can have some risk mitigation in place and lessen your risk of getting hacked. That's like the quarterback spot. Sure, you can get hurt anyway, but you can also have some risk mitigation in place and lessen the chances he gets hit. That's where I'm at with Braden Locke. This is from Uncultured Barbarian. One of the good friends of this show has been with us a long time. He said, I owe Locke an apology after the Bama and USC games. I figured he was a tomato can, along with Longo tomato can. But I sat back, gave it time since you lot were patient. Well, first of all, thank you, man, for sticking with us and being part of this community. I don't think you owe Locke an apology. I'll be honest. Like, I think some criticisms of his play were a little warranted, or at least maybe not criticisms of his play, but concerns. I think that was warranted. I don't think you owe anybody apology, man. Like, there were concerns about the offense. There was a reason TVD beat out Locke. Locke didn't have the fall that TVD did. The coaches talked about it. I think the people who saw practice saw it. So listen, there were reasons to be concerned. And I think we're all happy he turned it around. He is very young. Like, I think the one thing that we slept on, that I probably slept on too much, is he hasn't started a ton of games. So yes, he's had time in the system. He doesn't have a lot of live reps, and you're starting to see things click now. Again, small sample size caveat. He's had 2 good games in a row. 2 good games in a row does not make a career nor a season. He needs to continue building off that like a wall of Legos. Like, you got to keep building it. Otherwise, it doesn't matter. But I think I would be encouraged based on what I've seen the last 2 weeks, because he's been throwing to places. Like, he's been fitting the ball into windows. He's been making checks at the line. He's been getting rid of the ball quickly. He's been finding time in the pocket. I think there's something here. I really do. Uncultured also says, just a matter of a few weeks has given me optimism about this team, and I'm glad that I found this community. It's a great place to hang. Brother, love you, man. As with everybody in the community, can't tell you how humbled it is just to be. I'm humbled to be part of it, and I'm glad that we have this community as well. Appreciate you being here, and appreciate everyone else being here as well. This is from Badger Pat. Patience is a virtue. Just imagine what we will be like when the 25 class comes in. Yeah, I'd say imagine what we're going to be like in 26. Right. So you're going to have a couple years of the 24 class being in the system and building, a year of that 25 class being in the system and building. Suddenly you're going to have a lot of really talented, athletic sophomores, redshirt freshmen in this room, in this locker room, or, redshirt freshmen, true juniors, redshirt sophomores, redshirt freshmen. That's when this thing, I think, starts to click, because you're already seeing some of these athletes. You're already seeing the running backs. You're already seeing some of the DBs, Kevin Haywood, Dylan Johnson. Like, you're seeing how excited they are to get Heiberger eventually on the field. A couple of years from now, when you start also mixing in Aposa and Ains, this could be fun. And I'm right there with you, Badger Pat. I think this thing's going to get more and more exciting as these 24 and 25 recruiting classes start to trickle in, especially on the lines. I think there's a ton of talent there. All right, let's take one more quick break. A bunch more content coming up. Again, your comments, your thoughts, just how exciting it is to be a Badger fan right now, and a few more areas to talk about here coming up on Lockdown Badgers. But first, one more quick break for our friends of the show over at today's episode, also brought to you by our good friends over at Game Time. Game Time is the best place to get all your tickets for really whatever you need. And I talk about it a lot. It's about doing more things in life. It's about finding time to do more things in life. You can do that with Game Time because it's going to save you time. You don't have to plan months in ahead. Forget the logistical pain. You're going to save money, which means you can spend more money on whatever else it is you're into. We're all into something, whether it's bowling, collecting cards, antique trains, whatever it is. Game Time is going to save you money to allow for more of that, plus get you into the events that you want to get to with whomever you're trying to get there with. Easier, faster, simpler, cheaper. Head over to Game Time. Do more stuff in life. You want to get to the end of it and say, I did this and I did that and I did all these things with all these people and I was there. I was in that moment. Do it with Game Time. Save money. Get to more places. Do more things. Download Game Time app today. Use code LOCKEDON for $20 off. Snag the tickets without the stress with Game Time. Download the app. Create the account. Use code LOCKEDONCollege for $20 off your first purchase. Terms to apply. Again, create the account. Redeem code LOCKEDONCollege for $20 off. All right, let's get back to the show. Again, the community show where we get all of your comments, all your thoughts looped in. Really do appreciate everybody chatting, everybody communicating in the Discord, wherever it is. Y'all are amazing. All right, let's get some Discord comments here. This one's from Dominic S. He said he couldn't make the live show because Texas and Oklahoma were going to be on. Okay. Roger that, Dominic. No, just kidding, man. I love Dom. Robert Sorensen says, love the way Jancy ended that game. Going back to the Rutgers game. Listen, talking to some players in the locker room at practice, Jancy's a dude. You remember Little Giants? The kid who was playing, who would carry the refrigerator off the truck. Jancy's a dude. He kind of reminds me of that kid. So don't be surprised in a year or 2 years, Jancy is not making plays at the end of the game, but making them at the beginning. Tyler Jancy is definitely a name to file away in your mental Rolodex for inside linebackers going forward. Brian Shetty, I thought this comment was really interesting. I am comfortable with Locke being the bridge to Mettauer because what did we talk about really weeks 1 through 4? It was, what are they doing at quarterback in the offseason? Well, you got to go to the portal, right? TVD's hurt. I don't know if Locke's the guy. Behind him, you just got Mabrey, who's a freshman. LaCrue, who hasn't been able to stay healthy. I don't know. You got to go to the portal. Let's play this out and say Braden Locke finishes the season on a high note, keeps playing at this level. And this level will not always statistically be this level because competition is going to go up, but he plays at this level of competence. Do you go to the portal? I don't think so. In which case, Braden Locke might be the bridge to Mettauer, might be the bridge to Mabrey. Now, that is going to be a thin quarterback room, and that's something to think about. Maybe you go to the portal and try to find a fifth-year guy who he's not super concerned about being a starter, but he could step in an emergency and give you some veteran presence in the room, break class in case of emergency type. But yeah, maybe Locke is the bridge to Mettauer, and maybe that's a pretty good thing. Peter Rubbish Fitness said, Peter Rubish Fitness, I'm guessing. I'm going to call him PRF. Said, sorry, Peter. I'm sorry, man. I don't know how to pronounce that name. We all judge Locke too soon. He looks to be the guy. I think we did. I think I've said this before, and it was in reference to Jamel Howard, where Badger fans were getting a little worried. Why isn't Jamel Howard on the field? And I'm going to be honest. I feel like him not being able to crack what is not the strongest defensive line rotation as a redshirt freshman with his body type and his size and his film in high school, I do think that's a bit of something I'm worried about. But he's still just a redshirt freshman. He's still very young in his developmental cycle. I think the transfer portal, this era of college football, has sped up our expectations of players' timelines. I think it has led us to the point where 7 starts into Braedyn Locke's career, we're like, no, done. Throw the hat, throw in the white towel, right? I don't think we were as patient as fans in general as we were 3-4 years ago, I guess is my bigger point. And I think we were probably a little too critical of Braedyn Locke too soon, especially considering the circumstances by which he was thrown into games. Halfway through the Iowa game last year, partway through the Bama game this year. He hasn't had a lot of layups, right? Braedyn Locke in basketball parlance has come in and had to take a lot of contested threes. Not a lot of layups for him. Last 2 weeks, he had a couple layups, quote unquote, and he dunked them. He didn't lay it up. Like, he yammed on somebody. So I'm excited for it. Ryan Bolt, strong first name. I'm scared to believe, are they just tricking us? Man, that's the billion-dollar question, right? How much of this is real? And I'll say this. I think if you're strong foundationally, a lot of it's real. And what is foundationally strong in football? Foundationally strong is the lines. It's the offensive line. It's the defensive line. If you're strong in those areas, then I don't think there's a lot of trickeration. I don't think there's a lot of mirages. And I do think they're strong on the offensive line. And I think the defense line has gotten better. So they're strong there. Braedyn Locke is taking strides. They found the running back. We're seeing receivers step up. That's not all Purdue and Rutgers. Now, quality competition obviously matters. It's going to be more difficult. You're going to get more pass rush on Braden Lock as the season goes on with some of these defensive lines that are coming up. It's going to be a little harder to run the ball with some of these defensive lines and front sevens that are coming up. But there's also a lot there that's not a mirage, in my opinion. I think they've settled into some rotations. I think Long goes in a bit of a rhythm. Special teams has to get a little better outside of Atticus Bertram's. That's a real thing, but I would be okay believing right now, Ryan. The realist says great performance. If locking it 2 to 3 deep balls a game, they'll keep defenses honest, give Walker some space. 100%. That's why I gave him the game ball. Like, Walker balled out, but it's Locke keeping defenses honest. It's Locke. And it's Longo allowing him those opportunities. It's Longo on 1st and 10 saying, we're going to dial the deep shot. Make it or not, we're going to dial it up. That kind of stuff, man, if you're a safety that is wanting to come downhill and then on 1st and 10, they're dialing up deep shots over your head, it gives you a little hesitation. It all works together, right? You got to be able to threaten the pass to back those guys off, to give Tawee room. Then you got to be able to run the ball to bring those guys in to threaten the pass. It all works together in cohesion. And the last couple of weeks, it's really worked well. MogulCon, they beat another subpar college team. Did they? Like, is Rutgers subpar? Like, Rutgers is an average college team. There's a lot of bad college football. Rutgers is 4-1, or what was? Yeah, I don't know. I don't think they beat a mediocre college team, and then they beat the brakes off them. Michael, shaking my head, beat a real bad Purdue team, beat a decimated Rutgers. If they beat Penn State, then we can talk. Fan how you want to fan. Like, I always say it, man. Fan how you want to fan. If you don't want to get excited, or if you still think this team has a lot of holes, that is absolutely, like, everybody's got their perspectives, right? I will say this. I feel like a lot of people disagreed that we would even beat Rutgers. Like, I think there were people saying, why is everybody so optimistic? Why did everybody on the show pick Wisconsin beat Rutgers? And even though I thought it was closer, I still had us winning. And now it's like, well, you beat Rutgers, but we don't care about that anyway. I don't know. It feels like if you have to wait to Penn State to talk, you're going to miss some good football. That's just my opinion, though. Mark B says, good stuff. Let's not stub our toe at Northwestern next week. Yes, please beat Northwestern, man. Y'all cannot put these 2 weeks together, then lose to that Wildcats team out there, man. You can't do it to us, please. Can't do it. I do think they beat Northwestern. I think they found some identity here. But yeah, 100% agree. Grand D. It was actually Granny D. Did I just enjoy Wisconsin football in consecutive weeks? Yes, you did, Granny D. We all did, and it's just fun. It's fun to be back where we're bullying the teams we should bully. And the last 2 weeks, Wisconsin did that. Got to keep building on it. But yeah, you did just enjoy football consecutive weeks with the Badgers. JB said, don't forget my prediction, positive JB over believe with Rajiv. Yeah, JB was all over this game. Another one that thought Wisconsin was going to beat Rutgers. There was a lot of confident Badgers fans in this, and I'm here for it. David B says, I will admit I was wrong. I did not think this Wisconsin team would win on the road like this against Rutgers. I thought this was a 2-4 win team. Nothing wrong with being wrong, man. If you have takes, eventually you're going to be wrong. And I think here's the thing. I'll say this. Like, it's better to be wrong and have Wisconsin be good than to be right and Wisconsin sucks. I think there's people out there that would rather be right if it means Wisconsin being bad. Like, I for example, I thought Wisconsin would lose to USC. If Wisconsin beat USC, I would have been thrilled, even though it meant my take was wrong. And David, you're right. It seems like you're right there with us on this. Like, it's okay to be wrong. And if you're wrong and it's because Wisconsin's better, then let's celebrate that. That's a type of wrong take to have. Dex says, I think I'm watching Dexter, by the way. Just got into that. I think we're seeing this staff is improving this team and has genuine buy-in. Offense has shown signs of clicking. D has looked way more cohesive. Most importantly, the slow start seem gone. I mentioned that before the Rutgers game. There has been a lot of slow starts early in the Luke Fickell era. They jumped. They jumped out on Purdue. They jumped out on Rutgers. They jumped out on USC. That's a credit to the coaching staff. It's super easy to go into Piscataway early game and kind of going not super intensely fired up. This coaching staff has this team coming out of the gates. It was an issue last year. It does not seem to be an issue this year. Kudos to Longo, Tressel, and Luke Fickell getting that sorted out. Again, a bunch of comments. I'm not going to be able to get to all these, and I wish I could. Aladad says, winning can hide flaws. Longo has not won me over. I find his play calling perplexing. On critical downs, clock management is a big concern. Northwestern is not going to be a pushover. I agree with every one of these points for the most part. Winning can hide flaws, 100%. 100%. Like, again, you can be 2 down on teams after they lose and 2 up on them after they win. There are still issues with this team. Pass rush is still an issue. Special teams is still an issue. I still think the ability to stop the run, they did great against Monungai. I still think that's an issue with this team. I don't think that gets solved in 2 weeks. So, yeah, 100%. Longo, yeah, 2 games shouldn't win you over. But I think the last couple weeks he's also found some footing. Clock management, I didn't love it before the half. It ended up not hurting them, but I didn't love it. Northwestern is not going to be a pushover. I agree. Yeah, I agree. Stocko Draw said, pour one out. Cheers, hopefully, to the retirement of the halfback swing pass. That thing's not out of the playbook, Stocko Draw. I love your name, by the way. Old-time Badger fans will know what that's in reference to. Yeah, I don't think the halfback swing pass is out of the playbook. And if they start getting it to Darian Dupree, Katie Akimelli, you might like it a lot more. I'll just say that. Craig Fissel says, Dupree and Jones, the future of the Badger running backs. Great to see them getting reps. Those reps will pay dividends. Those reps are going to pay dividends for all the young guys getting reps. So I 100% agree there, Craig. Thank you for that comment. And let's wrap it up there. Again, I didn't get to all these comments, and I apologize, but I do appreciate every single person tuning in, checking out the show, commenting, liking, all of it. Thank you all so much on Wisconsin. Go check out Locked On College Football after this. All the biggest news in the college football world over on the Locked On Podcast Network on Wisconsin, and we will talk tomorrow.